Let's dive into food addiction. I did make a video last night, but I fell asleep while making the video. Um, or while, I don't know what I was doing, but when I woke up, the video was on my lap, and Keegan had woke me and said, "Are you still recording?" So I must have stopped recording and fallen asleep. I don't know. But here we go. We're going to talk about it now. For me, I realized that I was a food addict maybe 3 to 4 months ago. Food addiction is something that is very similar to drug addiction, alcohol addiction, tobacco addiction, caffeine addiction. It is a real serious addiction, and you have to have food to survive. So you don't think about it like the other addictions. You're like, oh, well, they don't need alcohol. They can come off of it. They really can't. Let me be honest about that. It's a very hard thing to come off of any addiction, and food addiction is no different. You do need food for substance to be able to live, so that's a little bit more challenging, but I wouldn't discredit any other addiction for other people. Every addiction is very, very hard. So for me, I realized that I had started this journey a while ago with a friend. I was just doing some exercises to try to have my stamina back, to try to be able to move. There was a point in the pandemic that I had reached probably my biggest low. Between my weight and my depression, that was new to me. I'd never been depressed. I'd never been a depressed person. I was pretty low. I was not moving my body. I was not doing what I needed to do. I was not eating what I should be eating. And by that, I don't mean I was eating McDonald's and Burger King and junk all the time. I was not at all. But I was fueling my emotions, fueling my stress, fueling my trauma with food, chocolate particularly, because I love chocolate. And I realized, we're going to talk about that goes back to some events that happened in my life. So I, through journaling, charting, and therapy, recognized that I have 4 triggers of food addiction. Those triggers spark me to need to eat things that I don't necessarily need to put in my body. So let's talk about what those 4 are. So first up, we have family. And that is not like John, the boys, none of that. It's my family from the past. And then we have poverty. That's a very real one. And then we have habit. That's also a very real one. Because every habit is formed from everything in your past, right? And then we have emotions. And that really should be like this big. It should be like 10 in 1. Because it's so crazy. Let's start with attacking family. My family food addiction trigger comes from my family being a large and proud family. I have 9 aunts and uncles on my mom's side, 6 on my dad's side. They're all very plus size people. I don't think any one of them is under 200 pounds. I have one aunt who is anorexic. I have one aunt who had gastric bypass surgery. Maybe I have 2 that had gastric bypass surgery. They're all well over 200 pounds though. I have an uncle who's 800 pounds, still alive. I realized that my family was like proud of this. You know, we would have family dinners and they would eat all the hot dogs and be like, ha ha ha, we could win a hot dog eating contest. Or, 3 hamburgers. And my family would justify it and be like, oh, well, they play sports. They need all that food. Some of my family members played professional sports, and they had that, I don't know the right word here. They had that mindset that they needed to intake that amount of food for the activities they were partaking in. That's not true. I came to realize that recently. My family taught me a lot about food, and I needed to... My trigger with them and food is that I used it as an excuse. They were my crutch, my reason. It was always, we are thick-thighed and we are big-boned, and it's okay to be that way. We're going to be that way our whole life. let me be honest, I may never be a thin girl. I may never weigh 100 pounds, and that's okay. I'm okay being a big girl with thick thighs. I don't mind it. It's fine. But I want to be a healthy big girl, and I was that healthy big girl for so many years. I was healthy as could be. I would go to the doctor and they would say, everything looks great. You're a little overweight, but you're doing good. My triglycerides were good. My cholesterol was good. Everything was excellent. And then I had Keegan. I'm not blaming this on Keegan, but my medical health went downhill after him. And that's my own fault. We're going to dive into that. That comes from childbirth. My mindset was, I can eat whatever I want. Nobody told me differently. They weren't like, every one of my kids, to be honest, I lost weight when I was pregnant. I was very actively healthy. Keegan was my complicated pregnancy, my most complicated. Each one had their own differences, but I had started a weight loss journey right before I found out I was pregnant with him, and that weight loss journey was a thyroid issue, and I was losing weight drastically. And then we went into the doctor, and he was like, by the way, do you know you're pregnant? And I was like, what? No. I would never change that blessing for anything in the world, because Keegan is the most feisty little pistol that I've ever seen, and I love him so much. But I would change the way that I looked at my health then, because I thought that I was invincible. I thought that I would be fine. Nothing was going to get me. But it did. It did get me. And that was like my family history, my genetics, and all that good yucky makeup creeping in on me. And it did. It got me. I realized I needed to make a change, as I said, just a few months ago. So I quit allowing those family genetics, that family makeup, the I can be thick-thighed. I quit allowing that to be an excuse. You can be big, bold, and beautiful, and you don't need to be unhealthy, and I am presently unhealthy. So it was time for me to get my act together and throw my family excuse out the door. Bye-bye. It went bye-bye. So family is a trigger that definitely flames me. Like, I feel like I need to eat like them in the amounts that they eat, but I don't need to eat that. Also, my grandmothers, both sides, cooked very large meals, and they served very large meals, very large portion sizes. I'm talking a ladle, you would get 2 or 3 scoops of mashed potatoes from it. Macaroni and cheese was always 2 or 3 scoops. And I did the same thing for my kids, because that's what my family always did. I watched my grandmas do it. I watched my mom. I watched her sisters. I watched my dad's sister do it. I saw that. I grew up with that. So I did that for my kids. 4 boxes of mac and cheese is what we cook with dinner. Like, if we're having, that's not all they have for dinner. Like 4 boxes of mac and cheese, and then let's say we're having a roast, so 2 pot roast. If we're having spaghetti, 4 boxes of spaghetti, 4 things of sauce mixed with tomatoes and other spices. Just a lot of food. And that's how I grew up. That's what I knew. That's what I lived. And I didn't know how to change that. I had to change my mindset to be able to do that. I had to block out what my family had taught me all these years. And I had to reset everything going forward. That my kids don't require 4 boxes of mac and cheese. Like, that's ridiculous. A half of a cup is sufficient. And even then, you got to think about what's in the mac and cheese. You got to read the ingredient list, but that's something that'll come in a minute. So that's been something that I've worked through just by empowering my brain, that I don't want to go back to that family. Oh, excuse me. I don't want to go back to that family trigger. I don't want to live like them. I don't want to have that persona. I want my own. I want to be healthy. I want my family to be healthy. And I want any future family they may have, God bless us, that they'll be healthy as well. So we've conquered that. I feel confident saying we've conquered it. Next up is poverty. Poverty is one that impacts everyone. You may not think that you live in poverty, but when you start talking food is expensive. Are you spending an adequate amount of food, buying adequate food that you need? That's a challenge. I watched my mom and my dad struggle My mom specifically, because she was the one that brought in the income. My dad quit working the day I was born and didn't go back to work until after him and my mom got divorced when I was 16. He didn't work that whole entire time, so my mom did what she could with her disability income, and then she would supplement it with food pantries, or there was like an assistance program that she got help from, where they brought like boxes of food. She really did the best she could, and I can't discredit her, but it was a lot of pastas, a lot of very unhealthy meat, a lot of starches. Food pantries, you get pasta and bread a lot. I may have already said it, but when my mom makes spaghetti, like you get a dinner plate of spaghetti full, and then you get the sauce on top with meat, and then 2 pieces of bread, and you can always ask for more bread, and that's bread and butter, and the butter is layered, fairly thick on there. It just was what we did, and that's what I passed to my kids, because although we don't live in the poverty my parents lived in, food is so expensive, and I thought that buying cheaper would make more sense. I thought if I fed them pasta 4 days a week, it would be cost effective for our budget, but it's not cost effective for our health. This is where my mindset had to again be retrained. I had to retrain that thought process that if I spend $20 on pasta for the week versus $100 on healthy food for the week, I did good. I saved money. But I'm killing my family. Hear that again. I may have saved money, but I'm killing my family. That's a hard one to process, right? So hard to process. The fact that you can buy that food cheaply should be your first mindset that something's wrong. I would go to the grocery store and get the tubes of hamburger. What is it, like 80-10, 80 fat, 10 lean? It's not good meat, but it was affordable, and I would buy like 8 of those in a month, and we would make sloppy joes and meatloaf and meatballs, everything and anything, tacos. But that meat is so bad. The grease amount in it, all the chemicals they put in there to plump it up, ooh, it's bad. But I didn't understand why. I didn't get why. I just saw saving money. Now we buy ground turkey, and the ground turkey is 90-10, 90 lean, 10 fat. And that's incredible, and it tastes so good. I wouldn't say it tastes like hamburger, but it tastes so good. Like, we love it. We love to put it in tacos. We love it for sloppy joe. We love it for every food that we've cooked it with. I don't buy hamburger anymore. I buy very little beef product, to be honest, because so much of it is expensive and not good for you. It's not healthy. And I'm not saying don't eat beef. That's on you. You make your decision. And I'm not saying we don't eat beef, because we do eat some things, but we're just very careful about our choices. And if you're in a place where your finances only allow you to purchase so much groceries, look at your choices. Look at your stores, because goodness knows, even in the middle of no man's land where I've lived before, we had at least 3 different grocery stores within a driving distance that we could choose from. I'm going to be bluntly honest with you guys. I shop 99% of my groceries at Walmart, and I shop it in the grocery pickup, and not just because of COVID, but because it's easy. I can pick the healthy things we need. I can look at every nutrition label right in their app, which is so handy and so convenient, and then I can compare the prices. So if I'm buying this ground turkey, how is it healthier than this ground turkey? Or if I'm buying turkey burgers versus hamburgers, why is it healthier? I can look right at the nutrition label, right in the app. I'm sure there are other stores that have apps. I have not used them. I just use Walmart. I realize people don't love Walmart, but for me, it's convenient, and let's be honest, there's 75 plus people that work at Walmart locally, so my shopping helps keep them employed. That's how I look at it. I also have the ability to choose options that I may not see in the store. Like, I may not walk through the veggie aisle and check out all the different vegetables. You know, I may not pick up the Brussels sprouts, and I may not pick up the red potato versus the Idaho potato. Those are things that you can do on the app. I'm not advocating that. You shop however you are most comfortable. But for me, that allowed the door to open so I could see that we could afford these healthy options a whole lot more than we could afford to be killing ourselves. And that's what I literally come to Jesus moment is what I like to call it, because that's what it was. My husband and I had to sit down and say, this is our budget, this is what we're buying, and we need to be buying this food versus that food because it is going to save our lives. If we have to spend $150 more a month to live, then let's do that, right? My goal is to be alive. My goal is not to weigh 175 pounds or 150 pounds. I have no goal weight. My goal is to be healthy, and I'm going to do that. Coming out of poverty, coming out of all these triggers that are driving me, I'm going to be healthy. And poverty is something that affects so many people. So many people. It could be your neighbor, it could be your best friend, it could be you. Maybe you don't even know that you have a situation where you're like, I'm only buying this food because that's what I can afford. And let's be honest, I wasn't buying McDonald's or Burger King or whatever. I was buying chocolate, and chocolate is not cheap either. So, like, if I'm buying a 6-pack of candy bars or if I'm buying a bag of Hershey Kisses, that's not good either. That costs money. It's not cheap. I needed to have that moment where I realized that I can afford food that is healthy. And I did that. I feel like I've conquered that. I'm not allowing the poverty situation to overtake us anymore. We prioritized our food and where it needs to be and what it needs to be. And that's the best thing I can tell you to do, is prioritize what should go in and out of your body. Even if it means it costs more. Squeeze that budget from somewhere else. The next big thing is habit. You heard me talk about my family earlier. I have watched my family have food habits. Holidays, you know, there's 2 tables worth of food for a holiday. Every holiday that I've cooked for at home, like now, even up until Christmas, well, at Christmas we cooked a lot too. Let's talk about like Christmas dinner. So there's a ham, there's a turkey, there's 10 pounds of mashed potatoes, 10 pounds of potato salad, 6 pounds of macaroni salad, tuna casserole, 24 deviled eggs, pickles, ham roll-ups, baked beans, yams, spaghetti salad, olives, cheeses, 2 different kinds of cheeses cut up, pistachio pudding, fruit salad, which is like a pudding salad, not actually fruit. It's made with Cool Whip. Pies, obviously. Cookies. Gravy. Rolls. Lots of dinner rolls. There's much more. But if you think about that, that's what my family has always done. My family taught me my habit for food. So I did that. I made big, massive meals that could feed an army, I'm sure. We had leftovers for an entire week that my kids could eat off of. That's not beneficial. It's not needed. It's not healthy. They don't need all of that in one setting. That's crazy. Absolutely crazy. And I don't even care that it's a holiday. It's crazy. There's no need for that. Also, my family taught me the habit of, we're going to get to emotions in a minute, but I'm going to touch on it briefly. Emotional eating. That is a habit. That is learned behavior. So, I'll talk about that in emotions. Let's figure out the habit part of this. So, like, my mom would make a certain dinner on a night. Like, let's use an example. Sunday night is lasagna night. So lasagna night 4 times a month, that's expensive. And it's really not healthy either. Those lasagna noodles hold a whole lot of starch. You can substitute. I'm not going to go into all that. Yes, you can make it healthy, but that's a habit you need to break. If you're having I don't even know what they're called, cereal bowls, the bigger bowls for cereal every morning, that's a habit you need to break. There's things that you do that are habitual in nature. It's in your mind. It's ingrained from when you were born to now that you can change. How do you find these things? How do you figure out these habits? You start journaling. You start writing things down. You start documenting what you're eating, why you're eating it, the time of day you're eating it, all of that stuff. It will all reveal truth to you, like incredible truth. So I did a point where I documented, what I was eating, why I was eating it, when I was hungry, and that helped me see that I'm habit eating for some things. Like I'm not hungry at noon, but it's lunchtime, so I'm going to eat lunch. Why? That's not needed. Maybe I ate breakfast late, maybe I'm going to eat an early dinner. I may not need that noon lunch if I'm not hungry. You do need to keep your meals regular. You should have a schedule that you're eating and maintaining on. You don't want to be skipping your meals because that's not good, but I don't need to eat just because it's habit. My in-laws have this thing where they eat for lunch, they eat a sandwich and chips every time. That's just their go-to lunch. There's not something different. And I don't do that with my family per se. We, if there's leftovers or I have a variety of other things they can eat for lunches, because I don't want them to just get stuck on that habit of bread and chips for lunch every day. That's not needed. You can break those habits if you start to open your blinders to see what's going on with them. Next, let's jump into the emotions, because the emotions kind of cover the whole big picture. Emotional eating is so raw and real and personal, and each person has a different struggle with it. For me, emotional eating has separate triggers of their own, like stress, family, anger, frustration. All of those things trigger my need to eat. So if I had a bad day, I would be like, I need a chocolate bar. No, I need a second one. No, I need a third one. But I wasn't moving my body. I wasn't doing anything. So all that chocolate is doing is just making me feel better for a brief 5 seconds. 5. Count that. 5 seconds. That's all I'm going to feel better for. It's not going to actually resolve the problem. It's not going to do anything for the problem. So I had to figure out what I could do that would help me cope with problems. Because problems are going to come up for the rest of my life. Every day someone somewhere has a problem, or 5 or 10 for that matter. We all have things going on in life. And I had to figure out what to do, because I cannot cope with food. That only feeds my addiction. It causes problems and complications that I don't need. So one of the ways that I handle my emotional eating problem is exercise. So I can box it out on the my punching bag, or I can lift my weights to get it out, or I can just punch when I want to get it out. I don't even need to punch the punching bag. I can take a walk. I can do my feet exercises in the chair. I can do a million other things besides put food in my mouth. Because that's what I was doing every time I was stressed out. And some of you know my life. Whew, it's stress. I would put food. Oh, here's a chocolate bar. Oh, here's a cookie. Oh, here's a Swiss roll. Oh, I think I want that Star Crunch because I'm upset. Yeah, that made me feel better for 5 seconds. Maybe I need another Star Crunch because I don't feel better yet. Eating the emotions. It's a very real problem. Thank goodness that I have exercise and I have an outlet to be able to relieve that. If you don't have an outlet, feel free to message me and we can figure out what benefits you. Exercise is definitely my passion for that. Sometimes you just need someone to scream at. I thank you, Crystal, for always being the person that I can scream at. I can always be like, do you know what happened today? And Crystal's like, okay, yeah, give it to me. Shout it out. And then when I'm done, she's like, oh, see, that felt better. And it did, and I didn't put the chocolate bar in my mouth. There are ways for you to find outlets to deal with your emotional food eating, and that's what I had to do, and I'm still doing it, and I'm going to do it every single day for the rest of my life. Food addiction is something I will never, never overcome. There will always be some breaking point where I have a relapse situation, where I'm like, oh man, I ate that chocolate bar. What am I going to do about it? You know what? I'm going to wake up and tomorrow's going to be a new day and it's going to be all okay. Because I'm going to start my journey again and I'm going to make it new and I'm going to be a better person then for it. And when I relapse again, guess what? The same thing's going to happen. I'm going to wake up and I'm going to have a better day and I'm going to be a better person because of it. You have that ability too. If you're struggling with this addiction, which I didn't even know I was until 3 months ago, you can overcome it too. And if it's not food addiction, if it's some other addiction, reach out. Reach out. If you're not reaching out to me, reach out to your family, reach out to a close friend, reach out to a doctor, reach out to a counselor. You need help to get through these things in life, and that's the only way you can make your life better. I know personally, my mom died when she was 54, my grandma died when she was 54. I'm doing this now because I don't want to die when I'm 54. I want to live. I want to have a chance at life. I want to be able to do exciting, fun things with my kids. I want to feel like I can go to the beach and not be stared at. I want to be able to walk through the grocery store and not have everyone look at me like I'm some freak show. I want to be able to be excited about just going out. Because I'm not anymore and I haven't been for a long time. So it'll be super powerful for me when I'm able to go and do that again. Shut the door. I'm not done. Shut the door. I want to be able to live my life. So as much as so many of you are like, Candace, this is so inspirational. Thank you for doing this. Thank you for sharing your journey. This is wonderful. You can do it. Thank you all for being my cheerleaders and for cheering me on through this process that's been so incredibly hard. I have many big things ahead and I'm going to share as they come. Some of them within the next couple of weeks. I can't even imagine the things that are coming my way. But I just have to tell you, if you're struggling, fight back. You are worth it. You are worth the journey. You are worth overcoming addiction. You are worth overcoming food. You are worth more than your weight in gold. You are a gem in this world. And I need to say that because I too need to understand that. My husband and my kids are amazing, and they always are telling me how much they love me. My husband loves me just the way I am right now. He doesn't care. But you know what he does care about? He wants me to be the healthiest version of me because he wants to live life with me forever. And that's only going to be if I change my life. So that's why I'm doing this. I want to be better. So food addiction is just one part of my problem, one part of my journey. And I just shared almost 30 minutes on it. So I hope if you're watching it, you're not like, dang, I'm bored. I hope you enjoy my journey as I continue on and big things are about to happen. Oh, man. It's so big. And I'm so excited for the future, and I'm so excited to have a future. And Jay, one day I'm going to run with you. One day I'm going to. Like, I don't care if we run from, like, the parking lot at church to somewhere else. Like, one day I'm going to do that just because you have encouraged me so much to keep doing. This journey is hard. There are days that suck. But it's so worth it to keep going. When I have a bad day, I get up and I shake it off and I move on to the next day because the next day is going to be even better. And I want my friends to do the same. Have a great day. Make it a good day. Go do something amazing. Okay, I've shared enough about my food addiction and all my other stuff at the moment. Don't be afraid of the journey. Go for it. I know I am. Thanks for following along and being great friends. I appreciate all of you. Cheers to the next big thing ahead.